Okay, fifth grade science class here. The unit is water conservation, water usage, and I'm going to start off asking the students. Students, class of 22 here, and the thermostat. What do you know about water? Do you think there's enough water for everybody, like ever? Like to keep drinking water and live until like the year 3000? Get some answers and some yeses and some nos and whatever, and we'll talk about recent news. Maybe someone will mention the California droughts and why we care. And we have water. I mean, why do we care? We have drinking water coming out of you push the little button in the hallway and you can drink water. Why would we worry about corn in Oregon? Because we eat it and animals eat it and we eat animals, and well, most of us vegetarian, they need water to water their vegetables. So I'll have a student, after this discussion, I'm going to have a student come up to the board and we'll remember some of the, and list off the different items that we use water for and have them remember what we said and come up with new ones. So we'll get a nice list going on the board that will involve everybody in the class. And I'm going to kind of mention the word scarcity and talk about how water is relatively scarce and special and why we have to save it. And I save water myself when I brush my teeth. I try to turn it off in between each time because I understand water conservation a little bit, and that's what we have to do, guys, to just have to be mindful of it. Water is special, you know. In Maine here, great story about my dad and I. We were snowboarding. He was skiing, I was snowboarding. And we stopped on the side of the trail and the water was just pouring off a rock, dripping from the snow in the springtime. I don't know if any of you guys have been up there in the spring, but it's pretty great. And we just drank right off the rock, just put our heads down, and that was pretty special because that doesn't happen everywhere in the world. It's kind of like a little diamond in the rough, similar to a diamond, which I don't see anybody wearing today. You know, diamonds are diamonds everywhere, or are diamonds scarce? Yeah, it's kind of like water. Well, but what about the ocean? You know, water's everywhere. And then boom, once that question comes in, I say, well, you know, great, glad you asked me that because we do got plenty of water, and I got it. Does anybody know what this is here? A gallon of something. Correct, a gallon of local pond water from Alex Garrett Elementary School, right out back there. Got some pond water here. This represents all of the water on this planet. Salt water, fresh water, pond water, water that's in a container in the stores, like that you buy and drink. The water that you guys left the little cup, you know, by the bedside table. I went and got it and put it in here. This is all the water that is on the world. It represented by pond water, but this is all the water in the world. Now I want you guys to tell me where you think the line will be, where it represents all the clean, usable drinking water that people use that is clean. Where do you guys think the line would be that is the clean water? Is all the water in the world drinkable and clean, or should we start by dumping some out? And just for time, Dan, I'll just dump it out quick, but I'd dump out just a little bit and ask them and keep going and say, oh, did I dump out too much? Did I put some in? And maybe put some in. And really have it all be on the students here, not be hinting at them that it's really going to be a minuscule amount of water. Try to push them towards thinking like, oh, maybe about half, maybe about drinkable, about half the water. And then once we get it all the way down there, I don't know, say roughly about 3%, and 3% always less than this. I just don't want to keep splashing my leg. But we'll get it down there, basically 3%, and we'll show the class that, yeah, that's all the water that is usable out of, represented as a gallon here. And then I'll kind of see what the class thinks, if they notice that I just drank pond water or not. And I'll keep that 3% number. That would be probably talking about it. I'll let them discuss what they just saw and how it might have been funny drinking the water, but that the 3% is real and it's scarce. And I'll represent it on a graph on the board. A line or a bar graph, 10 units up to 100, so it can be 100%, and fill that all up, and then that'll be all the water in the world. And then a little 3% dash, or a little 3% bar, but it'll just look like a dash. So that'll be another visual for the students, just to see how little of water on Earth is drinkable. And I'll say, all right, so we got a little group project here going, a little group inquiry project here. Maybe see if they understand the word inquiry or even hear me say it. I mentioned, yeah, a little project you guys are going to do on your own. You're going to do a little exploring, a little self-reporting, self-recording. I know you like to report for the school newspaper, so this will be perfect. It's right up your alley. If you like those that don't like to record, you're doing a project on your own things that you're going to do anyways, so it shouldn't get in the way too much, right, Billy? Billy doesn't like work. But Billy's psyched about this one because he can just do it by himself, doesn't have to do any extra work. So the class would please count off by twos. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can represent it or you can say it. And with the ones, please go over here in this section, and the twos, please right here. You guys, it's okay if you're close. There's nothing going to be secretive about this, but we'll get into our groups. I'll tell the students I'll aid in their discussion of talking about how much water each individual uses. I'll go over to the groups. Maybe I'll let them go and say, how much water do you guys think you use per person? And then write that down, and everyone will have a number, and add those numbers up. And that's your group total, and it'll be in gallons. And this is a gallon this container is a gallon. And just to give you guys a hint, it takes like 1 or more of these every time you flush the toilet. So think about that. Every time you get a cup of water, every time you may brush your teeth. I don't even want to think about you guys jumping in like a pool, because that just would skew our numbers way out of whack. But it's okay if you do. It's the truth. So we put that down. So the groups will get their total number of gallons used for the group A per day, and who knows what it'll be, maybe 50 they'll think. I think they each use 2 gallons because they go to the bathroom twice. We'll get those numbers up there on the board, group A and group B. And then I'll keep them grouped like that, or they can come back to their seats. It doesn't make a difference. Yeah, they'll be in their seats anyways. It'll just be grouped up a little bit, so they'll stay right where they are. And I'll give out the personal water usage survey sheet, and that has on it like number of, or you can check off when you flush the toilet, brush your teeth, do something with the sink water, get yourself a cup of water, and they're going to bring that home. We'll talk about it as a class, make sure they all understand it. I will demonstrate how to use it, like on I'll broadcast it up to the whiteboard, project it up to the whiteboard, and show them how to use it. I'll also show them, I'll tell them that we're going to do the math on the next class of how much water they used. And they will be ready to go home that weekend and do an inquiry project, basically. Inquire how much water they use. And then we'll bring it into class on Monday. It's tying it all. The lesson might run over a day, obviously, because we have the little weekend project. So the lesson will continue on Monday. Each student will have their sheet filled out. They'll hop into their groups, talk about it with the group members. We'll do the math as a class, helping each student do like every flush is 4 gallons. Every time you brush your teeth is 1 gallon, 0.5 gallons. Every shower is 10 gallons. Each student will have their own personal number, and then they'll add them to their group number. We'll put it next to what they had estimated the previous day, and it'll probably be more. And then we will talk about those numbers, basically. Do another graph group A's usage versus group B's usage, see which one's closer, and see if the students want to do the project again the next weekend and see if they can use even less water, maybe beat the other group. Not that it's beating the other group, everybody's a winner here because we're all learning together, but if they want to compete, we could maybe do it again that next weekend. And that's relatively the lesson. After we get those final totals and get the graph numbers, we'll talk about it, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and talk about how we can maybe change our own habits to keep the amount of usable water on the world, on Earth, keep it so it's possible that we can all keep using it for a long time, because that's the goal. Each person makes a difference. I'm not going to be spewing that at them. Each person makes a difference. Do your own thing, because I don't think you're supposed to do that in school, but just mention to them, yep, it's good to save it, because it's not going to always be there. As you guys saw, it's only 3%, and it used to be more. I should have probably mentioned that earlier. It used to be more, but it's only 3 now. And that's the lesson. Students will have, I think they'll have a good idea about the scarcity and the importance. They'll do a little estimating, a little bit of math with the graphs there, and the calculations of things, and I think it'll be a good lesson. Hope this works.